Amigos, estamos en Woodford Reserve Distillery, es una de las destilerías más famosas de Bourbon en Kentucky. También ellos se encargan de patrocinar cada año el derby de Kentucky. Tienen una botella limitada, audición especial, cada derby lo hacen. Si no han visto los videos del derby de Kentucky, aquí están arriba, véanlo. Vamos a tomar un tour completo con ellos, del mejor tour que tienen. Ellos están muy ocupados durante todo el tiempo, tienen que reservar con mucho tiempo de anticipación, tal vez 2 meses, porque esto se llena y no pueden nada más llegar ese día. Y si quieren visitarlo nada más de llegar y conseguir un tour, no lo van a hacer. Entonces, aquí está la página, hagan su reservación con tiempo, con anticipación, para que puedan hacer un tour con ellos. Y tiene fama de ser un muy buen Bourbon. Vamos a verlo también, si no han visto los videos del Bourbon. Aquí está para que entiendan todo sobre el Bourbon.
Thank you guys for coming out. Welcome to Woodford Reserve. This is a walking tour. We're going to walk down the sidewalk down to the distillery. Now we are making whiskeys here, and only bottled water is allowed on the tour. And if it's hot, just don't touch it. All right? It's pretty simple, all right? We learned that early on. But we're going to have fun, and we're about 45 minutes from drinking. We're ready.
Yes.
All right. Where are you guys from?
I'm from Nevada.
Nevada?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah, compared to Las Vegas, sure.
Yeah. And you guys?
Jersey.
Georgia?
Jersey.
Jersey.
Florida.
Florida?
Living in Lexington,
Lexington? Where are you from?
Yeah.
Mexico.
Okay.
Texas.
Texas. Chicago. Chicago?
Indiana.
Indiana?
Florida.
Florida. All right. Well, welcome to Woodford Reserve, guys. Thanks for coming out. We ship to over 170 countries from this building. And the building next to it is our bottling facility, which was built, well, the building was built in 1894, but we repurposed it to be our bottling facility. And we bottle every bottle of Woodford Reserve in that building and ship it from that building. There's another building attached to it. Is a warehouse that was built in 1890. We still use that warehouse today. It holds up to 5,000 barrels in it. It was built in 1890. And it's, like I said, there's a lot of history on these grounds. There's a lot of history in this area of Woodford County. We're in Woodford County. And we use a lot of those old techniques to make our current whiskeys today. I want you to get up close and personal to see different things. You're going to get to see whiskey made up close and personal. That's our barrel run. And that's how we get all of our barrels from the distillery down to one of our warehouses or to shipping and receiving. Those barrels you see there on the track, they were filled today. So that's our first source of flavor is water. Second source of flavor are grains. There are 3 main grains that we use to make all of our whiskeys and bourbons today. That's the corn, the rye, malted barley. When the corn is sweet and it's locally grown, we get that from Shelby County. The rye and malted barley, the rye is spicy, pepper notes, cinnamon clove. We get that from the Midwest, and malted barley is nutty and chocolatey. We get that from the Midwest also. And we take those water and those grains and the water from the previous distillation, put it in our mash cooker, heat it up and cool it down, and then we put it in our fermentation vats. Now most distilleries use stainless steel for their fermentation vats, but here at Woodford Reserve, we use cypress wood. Cypress is an inert wood. It doesn't add or take away flavor. It's just a process they used a long time ago. It was probably cheaper at the time, but stainless steel is probably cheaper than cypress wood now. And then we add our proprietary yeast. That yeast is made only for Woodford Reserve. And it pulls out those fruit and floral flavors that you can taste in the bottle of Woodford Reserve and all of our whiskeys. And we have the longest fermentation process in the industry, about 7 days. And the way we keep that process going is that we have cooling coils in all of these fermentation vats to keep that sour mash at an optimum temperature and the yeast alive. After that, it goes over to the distillery, to our pot stills. Now, who knows what makes bourbon bourbon? Yeah, by law, in 1964, Congress, like I said, they didn't have much to do, so they made bourbon a native spirit. It has to be made in the U.S. When 95% of all bourbon is made in Kentucky, the other 5% you just deal with and hopefully they get better. It has to have at least 51% corn. It has to mature in a new oak barrel that has been charred. Now we have our own coopers, so we make our own barrels. So we do char them, but we also toast them first before we char them, using a radiant light inside. It's going to give us more flavors, bringing those wood sugars to the surface. Cannot be distilled at a proof height of 160. Cannot be barreled at a proof height of 125. Must mature for at least 2 years. We call straight bourbon whiskey. Less than 4 years, it must be stated on the bottle, and it has to be bottled at a proof higher than 80. Those are the bourbon laws. Double oak is regular Woodford Reserve put in a new oak barrel that has been treated differently. Heavily toasted, flash char. 5 seconds on the char. Regular char is like 20 to 25 seconds. Second barrel is flash char about 5 seconds. Regular Woodford Reserve goes in that barrel for an extra year. Our pot stills are made out of copper, and they were made for us by a company called A. Forsyth & Sons out of Scotland and Mendome out of Louisville, Kentucky. The copper is a great conductor of heat, but it also has some qualities that we look for in our bourbon, and it takes out some of those impurities during that process. Now we heat this, we take sour mash from fermentation, we pump everything into the first pot still, that's why it's bigger, grains and all. We heat it up using steam, and alcohol boils at a lower temperature than water, so it turns into a vapor. It touches that copper as it's going up, it's rising up. We cool it off, and it turns into a liquid that you can see in our spirit safe when it's running. And each one of these boxes corresponds with each one of these pot stills. So at any given time when it's running, our master distillers can come out and start testing and see if we get the best portion of that distillate using hydrometers and thermometers. When that process is done, it's at 40 proof over to the next pot still. But the grains that are left over, we give those to the local farmers around here. They come here with their tanker trucks, and we just pump it into their tanks free of charge, and they can give it to the cows and pigs. Happy cows and pigs in Kentucky. So we take that 40 proof, put it in its next still. We do the same thing. Heat it up, it turns into a vapor. We cool it down, it turns into a liquid. And it's at 125 proof when it's finished. Right at the line where we can put it in a barrel. And most distillers do it at that point. But we're the only ones that triple distill. Because we want more smoothness, more flavor. So we do it again. 125 proof goes into the spirit still. We heat it up, cool it down, turns into a liquid. It comes out at 158 proof. And we can't put it in a barrel at 158 proof for bourbon law. So we take it, put it in this tank over here in barrel filler. This is the gauge tank. Here we add demineralized water to gauge it down to 110 proof. Right before we put it in these new oak barrels that have been toasted and charred per our specifications. So what we do, we bring out a regular Woodford Reserve double oak or rye, and we get 3 samples that are mature. And you get to pick from those 3 samples which one you want. And we put 2 of those barrels together. We'll bottle it for you. You get about 175 to 1 liter bottles with your label on it. So in the wintertime, we heat this warehouse up to get these barrels up to 90 degrees inside, because the upper barrels are already maturing because it's hot in Kentucky, and that distillate is expanding and contracting a whole lot more up top. But below it's not happening as often. But it also allows us to start tasting our barrels. We're a small batch company. We don't do single barrels. So we batch about 100 barrels together to get the unique flavors of Woodford Reserves. By steam cycling, we're able to keep that maturation process happening consistently. And most of our barrels start to mature right around year 5. So our tasters come around year 5 and start drilling holes in different barrels and start tasting. Now I've volunteered to mark every hole that they do, just in case. But, you know. So we're going to start left to right with our flagship product, Woodford Reserve Bourbon Whiskey. Under the topper it says Woodford Reserve Bourbon Whiskey. And you look on the back of that topper, you see all those flavor categories I mentioned: the wood, the grain, the spice, fruit, floral, sweet aromatics. Over 200 detectable flavors in a bottle of Woodford Reserve. After 7 years, you're going to get this color and 50 to 60% of flavor comes from the barrel. Now this is a bourbon because of the grain bill. 72% corn, 18% rye, 10% malted barley. That corn is sweet. That rye is spicy, pepper notes, cloves, cinnamon. Malted barley is kind of nutty and chocolatey.
How do you say about the mash bill of this one?
53% rye, 33% corn, 14% malted barley. Pretty smooth, isn't it? It's not as spicy as the first one is.
Oh yeah, true.
I mean, you get a little spice up front, but the back end, it kind of goes away.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not a rye fan, but I like this one.
We did bourbon is still majority corn, but it just has a lot of wheat in it. Now this is a wheat whiskey, majority grain and this is wheat. 52% wheat, 20% corn, 20% malted barley, and 8% rye. So the first thing you notice on this, when you notice it, fruity, right? Give it a taste. Now we can make an old fashioned with this. We have some recipe cards at the top. I don't know the numbers on it, but this is a very smooth whiskey. 52% rye, 52%, and this is what we're going to try today is Woodford Reserve finished in California and French Brandy barrels. An extra 7 years in a Brandy barrel. Woodford Reserve. This is part of our distillery series, only available in Kentucky, the 375 milliliter bottles with a white label. Now,
You're just selling those here?
we don't sell them. We sold out a couple months ago, but we had a couple of barrels that people try. What does it smell like? Plums, right? Very smooth, sweet. Smell like whiskey candy, candy whiskey. Now give it a small taste. Well, what happens to you guys when you try it with the chocolate? Did it change anything for you? They got spicy for that. What happens to you guys? It smoothed it out?
I got spicy.
You got spicy too?
No, I got smooth.
Yeah, it's smooth. It just smooths it right out for me.
When is the tequila barrel coming?
Now we give the barrels to tequila companies and they do it.
Because the Brown Foreman owns the Herradura tequila,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
the big brand over there.
We'll never see those. No. They won't ever bring anything like this on this campus. All right, guys. Well, thank you. I hope you enjoyed everything. Thank you.
Did. Thank you very much.
Viajeros, un magnífico tour con Jamie. Es muy buen guía de tour guide. Y la verdad es que la vida es mejor después de unos tragos de bourbon. La vez diferente. Viajeros, desde aquí nos despedimos. Bueno, Woodford Reserve es parte del Bourbon Trail. Aquí tenemos los pasaportes, ya los sellamos. De que los visitamos, los vamos a completar para que sigan Mochilazo, porque vamos a hacer toda la ruta. Y también grabamos una de nuestras botellas. Bueno, nos gustó mucho el rye whisky y grabamos una botella para nosotros. A ver si están aquí, si están de visita, puedan hacer lo mismo por ustedes. Si hagan algo personalizado, un recuerdo muy bonito. Mañana nos vamos a Louisville, Kentucky, así que síganos, suscríbanse, denos un like si les ha gustado y compartan con un amigo para poder seguir creciendo. Esto es Mochilazo, yo soy Luis.
Y yo soy Gaby. Bye.
Viajeros, como siempre, muchas gracias por ver este video. Si no se han suscrito, suscríbanse al canal, den un like si les ha gustado y compartan con los viajeros a quienes pueda servir esta información.